Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, we're going to talk about 10 qualified 529 expenses. And 529 plans are one of my favorite things that I've ever done. It's a great way to save for college for your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, the whole lot of them. But I do get a lot of questions on them, like, what does it cover? What can I use to pay for it? How much can I use? So we are going to talk about the top 10 qualified 529 expenses. And what that basically means is ways to use the 529 with avoiding the tax or the tax penalty. So if it's qualified, it means you can take money out of it to pay for specific expenses that you do not get taxed on. And that's always good because, if you have a kid in college and you have a 529 plan, you could have had that 529 plan for 18 years and putting money in early on and it growing and constantly adding to it. That money hopefully has grown to a substantial amount to help you pay for college. And if you can do that without paying taxes, all the more power to you. All right, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to avoid paying unnecessary taxes on 529 withdrawals by sticking to the qualified expenses. And like we said, that money grows tax deferred or tax free, but you are able to withdraw it tax free or not paying taxes only if you use it towards qualified eligible expenses. Otherwise, you pay ordinary income tax, and that could be whatever tax bracket you're in. It could be 12%, 22, 35, whatever bracket you're in. Plus, you could also incur a 10% federal income tax penalty on that. So nobody wants to do that. We're going to try and avoid those basically obstacles as much as possible. So the first qualified expense is pretty easy, right? It's the tuition, the college or the university tuition. Whether your child attends a public college, a private university, a community college, funds in the 529 account can be used towards that tuition as long as the school is eligible for federal student aid. That's the same also for graduate school and even some schools abroad. Now, I have not basically found a school that does not use federal student aid inside the U.S. And there is also a few schools abroad that I do know also accept it. But that's easy to check out before you pull the money out of the 529 plan. So essentially, most colleges should fall into that parameter, but you always want to double check, right? Okay, so that's the first one. Second one are the college alternatives. There's been a lot of movement away from going to the traditional college route and maybe in favor of moving more to the trade programs. We definitely need tradespeople in this country. Trade schools are often cheaper. Also, they are offering focused training. They also usually are a lot less time. Sometimes they're about 2 years in length versus, college degree could take you for many more years, depending on, how you approach it. But 529 accounts can now pay for trade school, vocational schools, apprenticeship programs, and also some approved non-degree programs and recognized post-secondary career credentials. So those are newer things. The career credentials are newer additions to the plan as well. So you want to check the rules before you just automatically assume it's okay. But these are, in general, qualified expenses. Okay. So that was number 2. Number 3 is living on or off campus. This is the question I get a lot. Like, hey, can I pay for my, dorm or whatever with my 529? So as long as your child's enrolled in a degree or certificate seeking program, at least half time, the room and board on campus is considered a qualified expense. Now, I also get the question, hey, my kid's living off campus. Can I get reimbursed for that? Well, it depends. Yes, you can. However, for those living off campus, the cost of the rent and utilities is up to the school's allotment, which is considered qualified. But any amount above that allowance could be subject to taxes. So let's just assume the room and board at Penn State is $4,000 for the semester. And living off campus in an apartment that's, non-college related, is $5,000 for the semester. So you can ask the 529 to pay $4,000 of it, and that stays within that qualified amount as a qualified expense. That additional $1,000 that's over and above what you would have to pay if living on campus, that is not qualified. So that should not come out of the 529 plan. If it does, that $1,000 is going to be taxed at your ordinary income, plus there may be a 10% penalty tax. So you do want to be careful of that. Also, if you're getting an apartment off campus, usually they're not renting them per semester. You have to sign a year contract. You can't just take it all out of the 529 in August for the whole calendar year. You do want to keep it within the semester. So, you want to take that fall semester expense out of the 529 for that portion of the school year. And then in January, do the spring semester as well. So like two separate withdrawals from the 529, because you have to kind of be careful of when the expense hits. So be careful of that one. That is sometimes where people kind of fall through the cracks on, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I thought it was qualified. Yes, but you do have to separate the expense between semesters. So just be careful on that one. Okay, number 4, groceries, right? So if your kid is living off campus, the food expense up to the cost of an on-campus dining plan can be covered by your 529 plan. But the tax advantage only applies to necessities. That is, going to the grocery store and getting food that they can make. Does not count for dining out, like the Grubhubs. Nope, not going to happen. DoorDash, not qualified. Going out to the local Mexican restaurant or any other restaurants, that is not qualified either. Just the food that they buy at the supermarket that will qualify. You obviously want to keep your receipts just in case you're ever audited. But just be careful of that. And again, you want to match it up to what is the food dining hall dollar amount that you would buy through the college. You don't want to go over that amount, because you have to, again, you want to stay within that qualified amount so that you can use your 529 plan. I will say most parents, when their kids get into the apartments, they usually, most times, will just pay for the food out of pocket. Obviously, if you have abundant money in the 529 plan, you could use this avenue as well. It all depends on how you want to use that money and those funds. Okay, number 5, academic fees. Students may need to pay some fees in addition to tuition, like some technology, some lab fees. They can use the 529 plan for them. Activity fees, however, like sports and organizations, are not eligible. Also not eligible, like the sororities, fraternities, those organizational fees are not covered. Also, travel back and forth, whether or not it's home to home or some other events, that is also not covered. So any kind of groups, organizations on the campus, yes, be part of them, have fun, be connected, get involved with the community, but that is an out-of-pocket fee. If you take it out of the 529, that is a non-qualified expense. You are going to get taxed and possibly a penalty tax for that as well. Okay, the 6th item here are computers, software, and internet access. So technology essentials, any kind of specialized software that's required to complete your coursework, some design programs for graphic design degrees or even other types of degrees may require specific software. That is allowable. If they are required for the program, that's considered a qualified expense. Internet access also is covered for kids who are living off campus. So that's a bill that you can, put as part of your qualified expense list too. So that's kind of cool. All right, this one most people know, item number 7, books and supplies. In addition to the textbooks and the class-specific materials, you can have school, office supplies, notebooks, pens, pencils, all that kind of stuff is covered by the 529 as far as qualified expenses. All right, so number 8, this has been allowed for several years, but they increased the amount this year, and that is tuition for kindergarten through 12th grade. So if you have a child in kindergarten through 12th grade and it's a private school tuition or religious school, you may or may not want to use your 529 plan to pay for some or a portion of that tuition. Up to $20,000 per year can be used for that tuition for those students in K through 12. In addition, the 529 plans may also cover some other eligible expenses like curriculum materials, books, tutoring, standardized test fees. Sometimes you have high schools who will offer those dual enrollment courses. One, highly recommend them, but two, those are also qualified expenses. Certain educational therapies for students with disabilities are also covered. You obviously want to double check ahead of time for which ones are and are not before you pull the money out and find out the hard way. So just a little bit of, I don't know, digging beneath the topic layer just to make sure before you pull that money out would be very, very helpful. You can also check your state guideline to confirm what does really qualify, because maybe state per state might be a little bit different what they'll allow within the state. Okay, item number 9, student loan repayment. This is a favorite too. Funds can be used for qualifying student loan repayments, which can include both the federal and the private student loans. Now, when you're using a 529 plan to pay off your student debt, there is a lifetime limit of $10,000. So, if you have a $30,000 student loan, you can take up to $10,000 out, and that's all. That's all you can take out. Doesn't mean 3 years from now you can take another 10 out. No, it's 10 for the lifetime. All right. So but it's also helpful if you have money left over in the 529. Why not use it for that? However, one of my favorite things that you can do is our 10th item, and that is a Roth IRA conversion. So account owners and beneficiaries can now roll over the funds into a beneficiary owned Roth IRA. So there are a couple caveats to this. This is a really cool item that came out a couple years ago. So in order to do so, the 529 account must have been open for at least 15 years, because this was a new provision. They didn't want to put it out there and then people run and, open these 529s, fund them for a couple of years and then roll them. So you have to have had the account open for 15 years. Then the amount rolled over must be in the account for at least 5 years. So it's, again, one of those things where you kind of used all the money, you left a couple $100 in there. Now you're like, oh, I'm going to I'm going to do a sideways thing here. I'm going to put the money in the 529, blah, blah, blah. No, the money has to live in that account for 5 years. And the rollover has a lifetime limit up to $35,000. Now, you can't really do $35,000 all at once. You have to go according to the IRA contribution limits. So you want to look at what the contribution limits are for that particular year that you're doing the Roth IRA conversion. Now, this is, like I said, one of my favorite new things that we're allowed to do. And I am talking to a lot of my parents about it. I'm doing it with my own kids. So, this is something that gives you extra bonus within the 529 to make it last a little bit longer. And I feel like it's the gift that keeps on giving. And I am so grateful that I talk to people about 529 plans. And I am so grateful that we did 529 plans since our kids were little, because I have no idea how I would pay for college without them. The college tuition prices are crazy. And, I could go on a whole nother rant about what they call financial aid. I disagree. I don't think a loan is financial aid. That's not aid. That's us having to pay back. And all the qualifiers out there. And I hear stories all the time about, parents who, feel like they don't make a lot of money. They're just kind of making ends meet, and they are not given the financial aid that, they feel like they should or could have gotten. So that's why a lot of people are so grateful that they've done these 529 plans so that they can pay for these kids' colleges and not wind up with a ton of debt for the kid or for themselves. So, with that being said, those are the top 10 qualified education expenses for your 529. Remember, the qualified tuition expenses are the college and universities, trade and vocational schools, apprenticeship programs, some post-secondary career credentials, and of course, K through 12 tuition. Then the qualified education expense, tuition and fees, room and board, books, supplies, and equipment, expense for special needs, and then computers, software, internet, groceries, and student loans. So those are some of the big ones that are making the list. We want to thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. My website is forgewealth.com, and you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Forge Wealth. On LinkedIn, I'm Regina McCann-Hess. Go make it a great day. Thanks. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.